What's up, gamers? Well, here's another one off the backlogs. Back in 2010, I was still playing Final Fantasy XII on my PS2, and it wouldn't be another 3 years before I got my PS3. It's now halfway through 2025, and this is a review of my first playthrough of Red Dead Redemption. My name is Max Deshaw, and this is Based Game Reviews. How I played. I played on PS5 with a physical copy of the PS4 remaster. Story, 20 out of 20. I've only ever got this feeling a handful, less than a handful of times, in all my years of gaming. Like a tingling sixth sense, nerd chills, as Artosis famously refers to them. The impression that you're about to experience something truly epic. Right from the opening cutscene, I was getting these vibes. A simple train ride with dialogue and credits is all it took. Very little is told to you during this time, only some suggestions, and the rest you piece together as the game unfolds. I don't really know why, but it was kind of mesmerizing. To sum it up, the cutscenes are phenomenal. I've seen blockbuster movies with worse acting. The characters are so well written. This might be the single best example of casting, voice acting, and directing I've ever seen in a game. Everyone matches their character flawlessly. The cutscenes can be lengthy at times, but they were never ever dull. World building. The game takes place during the decline of the American frontier in the year 1911. A staggering amount of effort went into building this world and enriching it with activities, NPCs, and environments that portray this era. Side quests don't just send you on meaningless errands, they add to the lore and bring value to the world. Nothing feels like it was left to chance. When you grow tired of tracking down criminals to shoot, you can play card games, arm wrestle, or go to the cinema, just to name a few things. The towns are full of detail and NPCs behave with personality. Our story follows John Marston, a former outlaw who, after his wife and son are taken hostage by the government in ransom for his services as a hired gun, sets out to bring 3 members of his former gang to justice. While I do wish that the setup to the plot had been explained a bit better, what unfolded over the next 16 hours or so was nothing short of incredible. What really struck me most of all were the characters I met along the way. They were remarkable and so entertaining. Like in pretty much every Rockstar game, you start off with basically nothing and slowly create your empire. The revenge, the betrayal, the irony, it's all here in spades. Graphics, 20 out of 20. Characters are expressive and vividly detailed. Sweat-stained shirts, bad teeth, cracked lips, and filthy hands are on full display in this grimy western. Environments. You'll spend the majority of the time in desert settings that are rich with cactuses and aloe vera plants. Mountain ranges and sandstone formations frame the landscape and are simply gorgeous. Forested areas, swamps, and snowy cliffs all play a role in this masterfully crafted game world. Special effects. If you move the camera towards the sky in a storm, raindrops fall on the screen. I don't know why, but this made me so happy. Puddles will form on the ground shortly after as well. Blood splatters on the screen when you skin an animal. There were some really cool effects in the game. Animations. Everyone in the game moves and behaves with so much personality. Their body language tells a story all on its own. Audio, 20 out of 20. Sometimes you just hear insects and birds chirping, but the lack of any noise actually works so well. Aside from this, you might only hear some voices in Spanish in the distance or a drunken NPC stumble out of a bar. Giving the game a chance to breathe like this is actually what creates the atmosphere, as opposed to constantly trying to fill it with music. The game doesn't exactly have bosses, but there are missions that carry more weight and end chapters, for example. I always felt like the music fit the action, even if it was subtle. It created a vibe, and the experience is what matters, not how loud and epic the score tries to be. Sound design. You can hear the leather rub together when you mount a horse. All the weapons go off with a powerful bang. Navigating the menus and confirming choices is satisfying. I really liked the sound design. The moment you cross a bridge into Mexico, the sounds change, much like entering a new area in Elden Ring, for example. They're mostly just sounds as opposed to full-fledged productions, but they create the vibe so well. At the beginning of each chapter, there's a full-on song with lyrics that plays, and these were so perfectly matched with the mood of the game. Gameplay, 38 out of 40. The various weapons you'll use throughout the game are awesome to control and complemented by an auto-lock mechanic which will snap to the nearest enemy. This makes taking out multiple foes on screen at once quick and efficient. You'll also control stationary guns on turrets which are very fluid and intuitive. You'll spend a great deal of time on horseback, which is really dialed in and felt well tested and polished. The one gripe I have with the controls is actually controlling John Marston himself. It's not quite as bad as the Star Wars Jedi series, but keeping in mind that Souls games exist, it's not great either. The camera is fine, but it's the responsiveness of moving around that's clumsy and a tad frustrating. There's almost an input delay when you try and move the analog stick. Mechanics. There's so much to do in Red Dead Redemption, and it's all really well thought out and executed. The defining mechanic of the game is Deadeye, which will let you slow down time and lock on to enemies. The screen will temporarily go yellow and little red X marks will appear where you choose to lock in your shots. This was so much fun and grows in complexity as the game progresses, allowing you to increase the amount of targets you can engage. Your actions in the game are tracked through a set of mechanics called Fame and Honor. Completing missions will increase these as the game progresses, but you can also alter them in various ways. Unlike Honor, Fame cannot go down, it can only go up. Killing innocent people or cracking a safe will lower your honor, while defending a stagecoach from bandits or completing a hideout side mission will raise it. Helping strangers, finishing jobs, and winning duels will raise your fame. Both mechanics will also affect how NPCs interact with you. Pacing. You essentially dictate the pace of the game yourself. Missions are offered to you and are marked on your map, but you can essentially go anywhere and do anything you like at any time. The game's actual storyline was captivating and full of memorable moments, and of course, incredible characters. UI and UE. At first, I was a little skeptical of the game's menus, but they grew on me, and I ended up admiring how they aim to honor the game's period and rugged aesthetic. The UI is really clean, and I loved how free it was of unnecessary information, letting me appreciate the scenery. Mission quality. John Marston is essentially a gun for hire, so a huge chunk of the missions just involve you going to a location and taking someone out. However, some of them are escort missions, others involve a race on horseback or horse-drawn carriage. While the variety wasn't massive, the execution was always flawless and kept me entertained. Enemy variety. You'll essentially be fighting against enemies on foot and enemies on horseback. Most of them will shoot at you with guns, but some carry dynamite or other flammable projectiles. Enemies range from various types of outlaws to soldiers and gang members strapped with bullets. I can't really fault the game for having a shallow pool of enemy variety because they have to fit within the lore and the world. We're not in Hyrule here or Ivalice. These are human beings. This was also never a quality that I felt was missing in the game and certainly didn't hinder the overall experience. Out in the wild, it's a bit of a different story. There are all kinds of animals and creatures that wander around, and if you get too close, will charge in your direction. They range in size and movement speeds from wolves and wild boars to grizzly bears. Gameplay variety. I mentioned the minigames a little bit ago, but beyond this, there's also a foraging mechanic, which involves picking wild herbs and plants. You can shoot birds out of the sky to increase your rank as a sharpshooter, and sell a huge variety of loot at shops. There was never a dull moment. Replayability. With the ability to play with the fame and honor mechanics to alter the world around you, all the side quests to partake in, properties to purchase, hunting and foraging, the immensely rich world is sure to keep you entertained for multiple playthroughs that unfold in different ways. Overall, 98 out of 100. Incredible. As much as I'd heard about this game over the years, being called everything from a masterpiece to a classic, it actually managed to exceed my expectations. Even though I had no interest in anything to do with Westerns and the whole subculture that goes with it, I found myself invested and caring about the game's characters and its story. Who is this game for? Anyone. I visited my parents recently and my mom learned how to ride a horse on the same day she learned how to hold a controller. My wife spent hours just watching and admiring the scenery. And for gamers, what's on offer here is one of the most refined and articulated examples of the art form that I know of.